What's up, y'all? It's just Rissi, and I'm back with another video. With this, I'm gonna be reacting to part 2 of the 20 craziest reactions of convicts after given a life sentence. It's all y'all. Let's get into it.
11. Jordan Fuss. Jordan Fuss was 19 years old when he reached speeds of over 90 miles an hour in his 2004 Infiniti G35 before crashing it into another vehicle carrying the Giraldo family. That accident resulted in the death of a 6-year-old boy after the Giraldo family's car was split in half. Jordan was found to have a blood alcohol content of 0.21, which is far more than the state legal limit of 0.08. While Jordan was being sentenced for his crimes, he was visibly shaking and crying. His attorney argued for a reduced sentence and said his client was remorseful and had considered suicide. He also told the Giraldo family that he was sorry and that he wished it was him that died, not their son.
So sorry.
Jordan did appear genuinely remorseful throughout, and even said he would give his life if it meant bringing his back. However, Jordan also admitted to smoking marijuana and using alcohol since the crash. He was subsequently sentenced to 14 years in prison, with prosecutors seeking the maximum sentence of 15 years. When he was being fingerprinted after the sentencing, he tearfully said, "I love you so much," to his mother, father, brother, and the girlfriend he met online after the crash.
Wait.
Number 10.
Wait. This man, you mean to tell me? No, I don't got my glasses on. But you mean to tell me that this man drunk driving, hit a family, killed a 6-year-old boy, and went home? Well, probably not went home, and then ended up meeting a girl online and getting a new girlfriend.
Eric Pendland. Child abuse is a horrific crime, and that's certainly one word of many to describe the actions of Eric Pendland. When Eric's son was 3 months old, he was shaken so violently that he became permanently disabled. He suffered a broken neck, traumatic brain damage, hearing impairment, and almost complete blindness. He was also unable to hold his own head up. According to Sharon Lawson and her husband, who were fostering Eric, eventually adopted him, and had been involved in the care of disabled and abused children for many years, the baby would always rely on people to bathe, dress, change, and feed him, along with administering pain medication. Maximum charges were sought because Eric had a prior record of robbery and a federal firearms charge. Prosecutors got their wish, and Eric was handed the maximum sentence for his crimes, even though he said he was innocent. As he was let out of the courtroom after being sentenced to 11 years, he shook his head and had an outburst that involved swearing at the judge and saying he hadn't done anything wrong. Number 9. Antonio Barbeau. Antonio Barbeau, 14 years old, and his friend Nathan Papp visited the home of Antonio's 78-year-old great-grandmother in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and she invited them inside. Once she had her back turned to call Antonio's mother, Antonio hit her on the head with a hatchet. Antonio then said he ran to the bathroom as he was feeling sick, but saw his friend hitting her multiple times with a hammer. His grandmother died from her injuries. He would spend at least 36 years behind bars for his crimes and would be eligible for parole by around 50 years old. During the trial, Antonio showed a wide range of emotions. He would wipe away tears at times, and he even smirked and shook his head when the prosecutor spoke.
Your grandma, sister, friend, I have no right to do so.
He pleaded no contest and was convicted of killing his great-grandmother. He broke down and sobbed when he was sentenced and tried to read an apologetic statement. However, he started crying while reading it, and his defense attorney...
Yeah, he was not feeling remorse for killing his grandma or anything. He wasn't feeling remorse for that at all. He would just, like I said before, he would, like the other dude, he was sad because he got caught, and then he was even more sad because reality hit him when he was told that he was going to spend, when he got his sentence, reality hit him.
He had to read it. He, too, was on the brink of tears as he read it. The judge said that the sentence was the minimum based on the crime, and that the crime was nothing short of horrific. According to the judge, he had not seen anything of this nature, not even close, in his 24 years on the bench. Number 8. Jeffrey McDonald. Jeffrey McDonald beat his girlfriend Alyssa Johnson to death in their home in Dongan Hills. He then propped her against a bed with severe blunt impact injuries to the head, neck, and extremities before taking a photo of her in this position, likely after she was already dead. For his horrific crimes, and even after crying and apologizing to Alyssa's family, he was sentenced to 12 years in jail. While his crying in court may have looked convincing to some, it wasn't to the judge. Judge Mario F. Matei said he wasn't
Just cut it off. Y'all know what I mean.
impressed by Jeffrey's expression of sorrow and said he didn't need any crocodile tears in front of him. He also said that Jeffrey was a coward for beating up a 107-pound defenseless woman. Your lack of compassion is palpable. You don't have an ounce of decency in your body, he said. Jeffrey said he was sorry for the pain he had caused and said Alyssa was the love of his life. As he was led to a holding cell through a side door.
Okay, that don't make sense to me. If you love somebody that much, then you're not gonna sit here and deliberately bring your hand back and hit her several times until she's dead. That you don't do that. It's not even. I don't even think it's possible to love somebody that much and do that many times to the point where she's dead. There's no.
Door, a woman said, "Hold your head, bro," while another said, "You're a demon." Number 7. Manson Bryant. Manson Bryant from Lake County was no stranger to the court system or prison. He had appeared before Judge Eugene Lucci's bench at least 3 or 4 times and has a criminal history dating back to 1999 as a juvenile. The last time this judge sentenced him to a crime was for 4 years, but this time he was in court for a violent home invasion and robbery while he was on parole. The maximum prison sentence for his crime was 30 years, but the judge sentenced him to 22 years after he felt Manson showed some remorse. Although he quickly realized that the remorse he supposedly showed might have been an act. Judge Lucci said the last time he sentenced Manson, he acted out briefly, but not like this. He went on a tirade, swearing at the judge, until Judge Lucci had enough. He added 6 years onto his sentence, bringing the total to 28 years. Manson was then forcibly removed from the courtroom by Lake County Sheriff's Office deputies. 22 years. His attorney, Daniel Williams, said sentencing hearings could be emotional, and Manson had an emotional and regrettable reaction. He said that Manson was otherwise composed throughout the entire trial, even as the verdict was rendered. They intended to appeal the ruling and sentence. Number 6. Tony Farmer. Some people get angry when they're sentenced to prison. Others cry, scream, and swear. Ohio high school basketball star 18-year-old Tony Farmer collapsed. He melted onto the floor and, once standing upright with the help of a sheriff's deputy, continued to look in absolute disbelief as he was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2012. As well. Tony Farmer, who is 6 feet 7 inches tall and ranks among the top high school basketball players in the country, had a bright future ahead of him after being recruited by several major colleges. However, he stood before the court accused of kidnapping, assaulting, and threatening his ex-girlfriend, Andrea Lane. He pleaded guilty to all charges and was released in 2015. Following his release, Tony wanted to enroll in Lincoln College but was refused admission, so he signed on to play basketball with Lee College, a Baytown, Texas community college. After his sophomore year, he became a professional basketball player and put his name in for the 2017 NBA draft, where U.S. college basketball players were selected for NBA teams. He was ultimately not successful. In 2020, police in Louisiana issued a warrant for Tony's arrest on felony domestic abuse battery. Number 5. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham.
Erica Mae Butts.
Somerville, South Carolina couple Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham received sentences of life in prison for killing a 3-year-old girl, Serenity Richardson. Serenity had been visiting Erica and Shanita, who were her godmother and mother's best friend, at their home in Somerville. This was where the abuse took place. Both Erica and Shanita beat her with plastic coat hangers and a belt. The only part of her body that wasn't harmed were the soles of her feet. When the two women learned they would be spending the rest of their lives in jail, they both collapsed, wailed, and hyperventilated in the courtroom. The entire scene was incredibly dramatic. Court officials had to pick both women up off the floor, and they were held in chairs before being wheeled out of the room. A clerk was heard asking if any EMTs were present in the building, while others tried to get Erica to slow down her breathing. Erica's mother also had to be thrown out of the courtroom by 3 staff members when she began shouting at her daughter to get up and started screaming that she couldn't leave her baby like this. The mother's
I know you would. Oh,
cries rang out across the courtroom, trumping the reactions of even the 2 women being sentenced. Number 4. Adrian Dunn. Ex-con Adrian Dunn was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of 24-year-old Raken Tariq Charles. Raken was shot in the back in an apartment complex parking lot during a supposed drug deal. During the closing arguments, prosecutors referred to Adrian's already extensive criminal record. They said he's been to prison twice for possessing a firearm even after the murder of Raken. He had also committed another shooting before the murder and has shown zero remorse. While prosecutor Jason Goss held the hand of Raken's mother, he asked the jury for a life sentence for Adrian's crimes. He said the Charles family had to suffer because of the defendant, but Adrian's lawyer said 34 to 40 years would be more appropriate so that he had a chance of getting out and being an asset to the community. Even if the jury had taken that statement on board, it didn't make any difference, as he was sentenced to life after deliberating for 2 hours. When the sentence was handed down, Adrian had an outburst and wrestled with deputies as they tried to escort him from the courtroom. Number 3. Michael Madison. Michael Madison had an abusive and chaotic childhood, but that wasn't enough to convince the jury not to sentence him to death for multiple counts of aggravated murder and kidnapping. Michael killed 3 people and wrapped their bodies in garbage bags. One of those victims was Sherelda Terry, whose father was giving a victim impact statement in the courtroom. When her father walked to the front of the courtroom to give his statement, he turned towards Michael, who was just a few feet away, and Michael smiled at him maliciously. That was enough for Sherelda's father to run at Michael, throw himself across the desk, and try to get at him. Sheriff's deputies swarmed at him.
I would have did the same thing. Well, I know, Lord have mercy. Actually, you know what? There are ways to get to somebody in prison.
While a woman could be heard screaming, "No, no, no," in the background.
Homie Superman dived on him. And it's the fact that he is still over there smiling. Bro, that's... Oh, he is... that man is evil.
A 15-minute delay followed, but the hearing continued. Michael received the death sentence, and the judge said life in prison wasn't an option based on the horrific nature of his crimes. Prosecutor Tim McGinty said the death penalty was for criminals like Michael, who are the worst of the worst. Michael didn't make any statements during his hearing, only to answer the judge's questions. Number 2. Kyandria Cook. Kyandria was 18 years old when she was sentenced to 20 years in state prison. She had used a dating app to set up a robbery that caused another teenager to be shot. Circuit Judge Matthew Foxman read out the sentence that included 20 years for a carjacking charge, 15 years for attempted carjacking with a deadly weapon, and 15 years for a battery felony. All 3 sentences were to be served concurrently. Kyandria's mother immediately started crying and wailing when the sentence was read out. She dropped to the floor in her seat and had to be consoled by those around her. Kyandria's mother's reaction was enough to make Kyandria cry, and she pleaded with the judge. All the commotion and noise made it necessary for the judge to restate his sentence before Kyandria was eventually led from the room, crying. According to online news sources, Kyandria and her boyfriend had lured Perry Nita to South Daytona so that they could buy cannabis and sleep with him. Nita had a 17-year-old with him, Emmanuel Purcell. Kyandria got into his car, got back out again to go get money, and her boyfriend, Kendrick Bass, got in the back seat wearing a mask. Emmanuel pushed Kendrick out of the car, and Kendrick shot him in the stomach. Fortunately, he survived. 2 months after the 20-year sentence was given, Kyandria was able to withdraw her no-contest plea, and her initial sentence was changed. This was due to a miscommunication with her previous attorney. Later, she was given an 11-year prison sentence with 20 years of probation that would run with her prison term. Number 1. Franklin Williams. 32-year-old Franklin Williams was accused of 3 armed robberies in the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court. Franklin wouldn't stop talking during the sentencing hearing, even after Judge John Russo had given him several warnings over a half-hour period.
I'm the judge in the matter. Shut your mouth, and I'll tell you when you can talk. You got it?
But it wasn't just the judge he was talking over. He was also interrupting his own attorneys, which certainly didn't seem to be.
So he was acting like a middle schooler. So like he was acting like every single middle school, every single little, the ones that want to act hard, the ones that want to, not the ones that want to be a class clown, but the ones that get in trouble, and then they be sitting there talking the entire time, talking over them and being disrespectful and rude.
Helping his case. The situation got so bad that the judge ordered for Franklin's mouth to be taped shut. So that is exactly what happened. He was made to sit down, and red tape was put over his mouth to stop him from talking, although it didn't have the desired.
Can they do that? Can they put tape over people's mouths? So
effect, and he was still able to speak. This situation is bizarre, and the world thought so as well. When the video of this happening went viral, the Cleveland judge apologized and recused himself from the case. The judge said that as a judge and a lawyer, he had spent his career with the bench, public, bar associations, and community groups, promoting confidence in the justice system. He said he was concerned that this particular hearing eroded some of that trust. The judge also said that, in retrospect, even though there is a legal precedent for gagging a defendant to maintain order in a courtroom, he apologized for taking that action.
Oh.
Some of these reactions were pretty typical, like crying as the realization.
Thank y'all for watching. Tell me what y'all think about these in the. Tell me what I can't speak. Tell me what y'all think about these cases in the comments below. Which person do you think deserved their sentence the most? Comment that down below, and if y'all want me to react to more of these, comment that down below. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Bye.